So let's go and work on a problem that a lot of students get wrong. This problem says, write a formula given the area of a circle in terms of circumference. Now, one of the kind of confusing things that we have here is we don't have any formula. So it says write a formula, but we don't have anything. However, it does say the area of a circle and the circumference. So one thing I always like to tell my students is, especially when you're doing a word problem, or really just kind of any problem, once you see something, right, the underlying technique, like for word problems, it's great, but it's like, what are you going to do about it? It says the area of the circle. I don't know. Maybe the formula for the area of a circle might be used. Now, obviously, if you don't know the area of the circle, you're probably not going to be able to get this problem right. So maybe that's where students make a mistake. But most students have at least a general understanding or have learned this formula. So it's just something that comes up to recalling it or having it posted either in a cheat sheet or on the board from your teacher. Hopefully they do that for you. But we have the area of a circle, pi, area equals pi r squared. Right? So again, once I see it, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to write it down. And then the same thing, it says in terms of their circumference. Now, you might forget what the circumference is or the formula. Just remember circumference equals a 2 pi r. So when you have a circle, you have the center, right? And you have like this radius. So the circumference is going to basically be like the perimeter of the circle. It's going to be the distance all the way around. And the area is going to be all the space that is going to make up the inside of the circle. So the problem that I think most students gets confusing, or at least for me when I remember learning this myself as a student, was this in terms of. Like, what exactly does that mean? Well, if you think about it, when it says something in terms of, that means it wants circumference in the formula. So we have circumference equals 2 pi r. And we have area equals pi r squared. Right now, they have nothing in common. I wouldn't say that. They do have something in common. But right now, the formula of area does not include circumference. So what we do need to say is all right, what is it that they do have common? What is that kind of common link between these two formulas? And hopefully you see it. I know you see it. Maybe you're not looking hard enough. But yeah, it's the little r. It's the radius, right? We can write a circumference in terms of r, and we write the area in terms of r. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this circumference formula, circumference equals 2 pi r, and I'm going to solve for r. Okay, so this is the radius in terms of its circumference. Now, if I take this r and rewrite it as a c divided by 2 pi, and I replace it with this r, I'm not changing the formulas, right? Because r is still equal to r. Right? But now what I'm doing is I'm putting this r in terms of its circumference, which now for this formula is putting the area in terms of the circumference. Because it's not area in terms of r, or the radius, it's area now in terms of the circumference, because the radius is in terms of the circumference. That was a lot of word. I thought it made a lot more sense when I was thinking through it. But hopefully that little word salad kind of connected the dots for you. So let's go ahead and find the problem, and then we'll do that one more time. Okay, so now all I simply did is I took my circumference, right? This is our circumference in terms of the radius, right? Because what I mean by that, in terms of, another way you could think about that is like based on, right? It's all like r is going to be your input variable and circumference is going to be output. So like your circumference is based on what the radius is. Whatever the radius is going to change, that's going to change the circumference. Now, if I rewrite it in terms of r being based on your circumference, or your radius in terms of or based upon your circumference. So then I replace this r with this r because now, but this r is going to be in terms of circumference, so therefore the area is in terms of circumference. Now let's go and simplify this, see what we get. So just remember, c divided by 2 pi squared is going to be c, you're going to square everything. So c squared, 2 times 2 is 4, and pi squared. Now notice I have a pi in the numerator as well as 2 in the denominator because it's squared. So I'll get rid of one of those. So therefore area is equal to a circumference squared divided by a 4 pi.